Well, the Phillies, isn't it open and shut? Buy, sell, or hold. It's you hold because you can't buy without moving back. And is Ben Simmons buy? Is he sell?
That's what I mean. What do you even say? I don't know.
I would say buy. I'm only moving Ben Simmons if I think it makes my team. Like if you flip Ben Simmons for De'Aaron Fox and something, whether it's getting off Tobias Harris's deal or you're getting Buddy Hield back or Harrison Barnes back, I'd consider that a buy. But if you're not moving Ben Simmons, I think you need to hold. Like you're within 7 million of the luxury tax. Maybe you could get under it as part of a Ben Simmons trade. But I would hold in the sense that I'm not settling on a Ben Simmons deal just to get like a poo-poo platter of, Minnesota giving me Jalen McDaniels picks and Malik Beasley. This is your last best chance to get a co-star for Joel Embiid and use Ben Simmons to do it, even if you have to include stuff. Wait out the James Harden situation, but you're not even just waiting out the James Harden situation. You're waiting out what's happening with Bradley Beal, what's happening with Damian Lillard, maybe even just on the periphery. I don't think it's going to get to this point, but you're waiting on the Jaylen Brown stuff, even though I still think that Boston would be foolish to break up the Jays. So that's where I'm at with Phillies, unless you're blown away. And I would still do, if that rumored deal of basically Hield, Barnes, and Fox for Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons was on the table, I would take that, because even if you were trying to get James Harden later, the Nets aren't going to have enough leverage to be like, oh, we don't want any combination of these guys for James Harden. So there are still ways to make it happen. And I think that's at least a package where it makes your team a lot better enough now for you to make the immediate move while, again, not punting on these future scenarios, but changing up what your best offers look like.
So I'm sure I have written and said the opposite in the past. I think I've probably said I believe this Ben Simmons thing is going to go into the offseason. I think Daryl Morey is not bluffing. I've kind of changed now. I think Simmons gets traded. I think it's Sacramento specifically. And I think the combination of Embiid playing like fucking prime Shaq for the last few weeks, and the Kings pressure mounting and the irrationality that just tends to crop up there. I think Fox is going to be involved, and I just think it's going to happen. It's just a gut thing. It's just maybe because I'm so tired of saying like it isn't going to happen. I've just like talked myself into it, but it's just starting to feel more like there aren't a lot of options. There's almost no options for the Sixers that are like Fox. Maybe make it as simple as this. I think Fox is the best player that they can realistically get in a move this year. And I think I've decided that some amount of we're willing to hold out for this crazy return is posturing, because that's what a smart negotiator would do to try to coax the best offers you could possibly get, is say, well, I'm not even going to consider parting with this player, with this asset for less than just this crazy package. And you have the Harden stuff to use as, part of that smoke screen. You've got, to get better offers to say, look, we don't have to do this. We can wait because we have this thing out here that, if we wait long enough, we might do better. So you're really going to have to bowl us over. And I think the Kings just are in a position where they got to do so. It's come together for me where maybe it's because I want it to be over, but maybe that's what it is.
I agree with you in the sense that if Sacramento's like, what if there's picks involved on top of that return? Like, or maybe you're getting Halliburton and Hield and Barnes instead of De'Aaron Fox. So I don't know where I wouldn't have Ben Simmons and De'Aaron Fox on the same team is where I stand. And so if you're getting Ben Simmons and I'm the Kings, I'm moving De'Aaron Fox. Yeah. But De'Aaron Fox is shooting 45% from mid-range this year, is still one of the best finishers in the league. I know he's not a pure playmaker, but you still do have Tyrese Maxey on the team in that situation. If the Kings are aggressive enough to where, and I'm very much against let's just propose trades involving the Kings because they're going to do something stupid. But because it's Ben Simmons and it's someone shiny who maybe actually helps their team, it would not shock me if this turns into an overpay where it's Fox and did you take back Tobias Harris and give up Buddy Hield and Scotty Barnes and then also send back picks? That wouldn't shock me if Sacramento did something like that. And I also think, to be honest, they would have probably made much worse moves historically than something like that. And I'm also the argument in favor of a trade happening is I don't think if James Harden really wants to get to, if that's the scenario Philly's focused on, if he really wants to get to the Sixers, it doesn't matter whether they have Ben Simmons, De'Aaron Fox, John Collins. I don't even know what like other scenarios out there we haven't talked about. D'Angelo Russell, for all I can, like, they could make it happen. There will be ways to do it. Maybe it's even creating cap space where you're finding ways to dump Harris and D'Lo or whatever salaries left to create that cap space, or getting a third and fourth team. I don't think you need to. I would hold and not be afraid to, just because I don't know that. I don't think De'Aaron Fox, while he's the best player you can get, I don't think he noticeably. I would say, what would you, if you peg the Sixers' chances at winning the title this season at 4%? I would say De'Aaron Fox nudges it up like 2%. And I just don't think that that's enough to, because I don't know what his game will look like in the playoffs. The Kings don't have him playmaking as much. His decision-making on drives was weird to start the year. He's still one of the, statistically one of the best finishers against tough looks at the rim. Like I said, he's shooting 45+% or around there from mid-range. Again, guess who doesn't even shoot from mid-range? That would be Ben Simmons. So De'Aaron Fox counts as a floor spacer relative to Ben Simmons. And if you're getting other stuff, I would so consider it. I still buy into the fact that I think the Sixers are going to let this drag out into the offseason. And I would actually say, people have told me I'm crazy, I think it's more likely Ben Simmons plays for the Sixers this season than he gets traded from the Sixers this season.
Nope, it's gonna happen. I just want the saga to be over. So I'm gonna speak it into existence.
I just, for Kings fans' sake, I hope that they don't, like, if you give up Hield, Barnes, Fox, and picks for Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, like, that's a lot, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, but like, it just
Yeah,
to take the temperature, I saw Sean Cunningham is a guy who's worked for ABC 10 out in Sacramento forever. He's at every Kings game. He's like a fixture. And I saw him on a podcast, or on a grab from a podcast earlier today. And his take, and I think he speaks very much for the voice of like a large faction of Kings fans. He was like, I go to Daryl Morey and I say, pick any 4 players. Pick any 4 for Ben Simmons. Done deal. Like, so, I think that's where a lot of Kings fans are, is like, do something. I don't care. That's where just, not that needs to dictate what a front office decides, but this front office, like, I feel like this front office sometimes like walks down this, or not the front. That's not fair, because Monty McNair hasn't presided over all of the bullshit that's happened in years past, but
just some of the bullshit in the most recent years.
Some of it. I just feel like the Kings almost like open the window and like listen to the street. And if someone says, we really should break it up, like, well, I guess we got to do it. Like that's what informs decisions. It feels like sometimes.
But does it? Because they never even break shit up. It's just perpetuating the same, hey, we're going to finish 12, 11, 10, 14, whatever. So I get the sentiment of doing like 4 players is too much. Like, I'm not giving up. I'd probably make Halliburton untouchable in the deal because he's so perfect next to Simmons, but maybe I'm overvaluing Halliburton. Just, I love how this turned into a King segment, but let's move. Player most likely to be traded on Philly, though.
It's Simmons. I guess you could say Harris, but it's Simmons.
I'm going to say it's Furkan Korkmaz. They're going to try and cut their tax bill, get someone. Like, do they try and just create a roster spot to get another ball hit? But it has to be Simmons, because he is so central, like, to everything that they're going to try and do. And you really can't make, like, your salary matching. You're not trading Seth Curry, and then Embiid, you're not moving. If you don't move Simmons, like, what are you attaching to Danny Green? I actually still think Danny Green is going to be pretty important come playoff time, because Matisse Thybulle, fantastic on defense, but like, he's not going to give you a lot offensively, and that could become an issue in the postseason.
Agreed.